Herceptin used in cancer cells. Mechanism of Herceptin. So signaling pathways control the cell cycle, and the cells recognize damage in the contact inhibition and will undergo apoptosis. And Herceptin is mostly found in breast cancer cells that I could find. So breast cancer cells cause an overexpression of the HER2 genes, and Herceptin is used to treat those cancer cells. And it does that by attaching it or binding it to itself to block the growth cells. So as you can see from figure 1 on the right in the first part, you see the Herceptin binds itself to the HER2 receptor. The Herceptin is a monoclonal antibody specifically designed to target those HER2 receptors. And the HER2 receptors play an important role in the signaling network that drives the cell proliferation. And then in 2, you see Herceptin is believed to Herceptin is used to block the intercellular signaling. As you can see that the other ones have signals going down, but the one that's attached to the Herceptin does not. So this is supposed to like promote apoptosis and arrest the cell proliferation. Then you look at 3 and you see that the Herceptin flags the tumor cell for the destruction by the body's immune system, known as this is known as the antibody-dependent cellular cytotoxicity. This is an activation of natural killer cells that express the gamma receptor, which can be bound by the Herceptin. Then in 4, you see that the Herceptin prevents the HER2 from shedding, and this is a potential value that is based on the high serum levels of the HER2 domain, which also correlates with poor prognosis and decreased responsiveness to the endocrine therapy and the chemotherapy in patients with advanced breast cancer. So these are some of the side effects of the drug. You can see there's a lot more common side effects that are just like some stomach and abdominal pain, sleeping problems, nausea, some mouth sores. But you have some serious side effects that are also that have to do with bone pain, increased coughing. You have severe headaches. You can get numbness in your hands and feet and legs or arms or whatever. You have mental and mood changes. You have problems with your heart, and you can also like bruise easily or start bleeding easily. Um, so here's some history of the Herceptin. So like in the mid 1970s, scientists discovered genes within our own bodies that can trigger cancer. In 1985, a scientist named Axel Ulrich identified the HER2 protein that was produced, and there is a figure of him in figure there's a picture of him in figure 2. That is Axel Ulrich. So in 86, a year after he discovered the protein, him and another researcher started a research project on this gene to figure out exactly what it does. And then a year later, they published their results of that research project. And then a few years later, Herceptin drug began its clinical development. And once it was developed, they had to wait a while, like all drugs, have to be approved by the FDA. And then in 1998, it was finally approved by the FDA. And then in 2007, Herceptin was expanded into other uses. Figure 3 is the chemical structure of Herceptin, and this is the only structure I could find of it, so I'm really hoping it's correct. So okay, I have a couple questions. So, how do you think the fight against breast cancer would be? Um, how would you think it would be different if we did not have Herceptin to help um, battle it in the early stages? And then my second question is, could Herceptin be applied to other cancer cells, even though it was specifically designed for the HER2 cells? And these are my references that I used.